Okay, guys. Hey, welcome to Vibe Realty's Drop Zone, and we just want to thank Anna Mantooth for dropping in.
Yeah.
Thank
Glad
you.
to be here.
And so, as with the last two, we've sort of condensed it down. I was telling you a little bit. So, I have some questions, and we can chat around them. And I'm not super strict on having to do every question or whatever. But I just thought I want it to be a little more mindful, so people get to know you on the reels when you send out. They get to know a little something about you and get more acquainted. Is what my thought process.
Yeah.
So I may be a little clunky because I'll look at this because I'm still getting used to it. But I know a little bit about your story. So the first part is kind of like, you know, who you are, Anna Mantooth, where you grew up. I knew that you went to Harrison and Red Rock, your company, is after your subdivision that you grew up in and all that. Your education, your work experience, and family. So you tell me, you fill that in how you want, just kind of briefly, like you grew up here and then you moved away though, right?
Yep. So I was born in Kansas, moved to Georgia when I was 2.
That's what it was.
Yep.
Overland Park.
Overland Park, Kansas, yes. Most of my big old family still lives there.
Yep.
And then moved to Georgia when I was 2, but then moved away from Georgia when I was 22.
Yep.
To marry a man in the military, moved to North Carolina.
Right on.
And spent about 14 years in between North Carolina and Fort Drum, New York. Moved
Right on.
back to Georgia after he medically retired and haven't left since and don't plan to. So, yeah.
So, and you were, okay, so you were born in Kansas. When did you move from Kansas?
I was just 2. It was on my 2nd birthday. We moved into the new house that my parents still live in.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So
And then when did you move here?
I moved back here, like to Woodstock here.
No, when you were growing up, because didn't you go to Harrison or?
I did. So I moved to Georgia when I was 2 to Red Rock Hills.
Okay, that's what it was.
And that was in Harrison School District.
Yes.
Initially it was North Cobb, but then they built Harrison.
Right.
And then I went to Harrison.
Yep.
And then moved away from my family home to Woodstock. Actually, it was my first stop from
No
my
kidding.
parents. Yeah, into Town Lake.
Okay.
When I was like maybe 19.
Oh.
And then college was not my plan. I hated school.
Right on.
I love the people that love it, but it's not my jam.
Right on. Yeah, for sure.
And then married at 22 and then moved away to North Carolina.
Okay.
I'm at 22.
Where in Town Lake?
Right off 575. There's apartments behind the medical building that's now there. I think it's a Wellstar medical building.
I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
Kind of on the hill a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I know
I
where
think
we're talking.
across the street from like Avonlea, I think it's called.
Yeah.
But yeah, right near the Longhorn there. I worked there at that Longhorn.
Did you really?
Yeah, yeah.
I
So,
love that Longhorn.
Yeah, yeah.
My folks lived there, and of course, we lived up here forever until we moved to the lake. So
Right.
we love it. So well, good. That kind of covers where you grew up and all that. So education.
Yep.
Tell me about your education.
Well, I went initially to a Catholic school because my mom and dad raised us Catholic. So I went to St. Joseph's Catholic School in Marietta.
Interesting.
My
I know
mom-
where that is, by Kennestone Hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom, when we moved here, she got a job there as the adult education teacher there
wow.
for adults. And so, and if you want to become Catholic, you have to go through like this year-long process. She taught it.
Yep.
And so I went there for until 2nd grade. 3rd grade, I went to Ford Elementary and then, Lost Mountain Middle School, Harrison High School, the whole track.
Yeah.
And then I did go to Kennesaw for a year. I even paid for it for my own
Really?
self. Yeah, because I didn't get the Hope Scholarship because I don't like school. But it was like what you're supposed to do, go to college.
Yeah.
And then my parents thought, well, you're paying for it, you're more invested in it, you'll do well. No, I did not.
No.
Because now I have the choice to go to class or not. No one's monitoring me.
Right.
I didn't go and I flunked out.
Right on.
Because I didn't show up.
Yeah, of course.
And quickly realized that I don't want to do this. School's not my thing.
That was not your gig.
No, not at all. And so at the time, I had been working at Longhorn Steakhouse since I was 16.
Okay.
Worked my way up into corporate training.
Oh,
and
wow.
was traveling all over the United States, opening up new restaurant locations on
Nice.
the training team. And so that was going to be my career path initially. I was just going to work my way up the corporate ladder with them.
Sure.
Loved it.
Yeah.
But then
Clearly you were good at it.
Yeah. Yep. And so school's not my plan, and it is still to this day not my plan. So
That's funny. Yeah. Well, I was sort of the same way. I mean, and I tell people all the time, I quit high school at 16. I framed houses, I made more money than my teachers were making.
Yeah.
And back then it was more acceptable. They're like, why are you here? Just
Right.
quit and go. Because I was only going until 3rd period.
Okay.
Hated school.
Yeah.
Quit. Got my GED.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, same thing. I went to work making money as construction, which I'm still in, but same deal. I hated school. And I thought, well, I should go to college. It'll make you smarter and blah, blah, blah. So I tried it like you for a year at DeKalb College.
Yeah.
Hated it. Flunked out. Terrible. Just did not like it.
Yep.
And so I went in the Army. And then when I got out, went to Kennesaw.
Okay.
Straight A's.
Wow.
Easy. It was nothing.
You need to mature a little.
Yeah, it was surprising to me. Like you said, I don't think I think it's a misnomer to think college makes you smarter. I was like, this is way too easy.
Yeah.
For a kid that quit high school.
Yeah.
Wait, I've been sold something that wasn't true. Wait, what is this? And it's like anything in life is what I've kind of figured out that, hey, if you just sit there and pay attention, you'll do good. It has nothing to do with whether you're smart or not.
Right.
It has to do with, are you applying yourself?
Yeah.
Like you were super smart at Longhorns. How good were you to be able to work your way up and be training people, and you liked it, so you do it.
Yeah.
And that's what our real estate careers and my build career stuff, right? Find what you want to do, what makes you happy and you're going to be good at.
Yeah.
I think that's the deal. And I think a lot of people now are pretty fortunate that kids, I think, are figuring out now that, you know what? College ain't the only path.
Yeah.
It was so pushed for so long and so expensive. And we're asking kids to decide what you want to do the rest of your life. And literally their frontal cortex hasn't formed.
Right.
It doesn't until it's 25.
Right.
It's the stupidest thing in the world.
Yep.
I'm going to do this. I'm going to lock you into debt. I'm going to, sometimes you have money and they don't have to, but unless it's something somebody wants.
Yeah.
So I love that story.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like mine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it's interesting. And so after that, you decided I don't want to go back, and you said you still don't like it.
School?
Yeah. You don't.
No.
So that's interesting because as I got older and matured, I am a nerd.
Oh yeah, no.
I love to study.
Yeah.
But I like to study what I like to study.
Yeah.
Like
I like
history
learning, I guess, but do not like the format of a classroom.
Yeah.
I on. At Vibe, we do our masterminds, and it's a brainstorm.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yes.
And I love learning from other people. I never want to show up like I know.
Of course.
But I don't want to sit in a classroom and be taught. That's why at Pacific Law with Justin Pacific, his real estate classes are super entertaining because he's fun and interactive.
Yep.
We're not just being lectured at. I cannot stand that lecture style.
Interesting.
So,
yeah. Well, I don't think you're alone in that at all. Yeah. And that's one reason I do the mastermind like I do it. A lot of people don't realize it, and a lot of people kid that it's like, oh, this is like AA. We just circle up and we all have our, we get to talk and share. Yeah, and share. Yeah. It's not. It's like a master's level class.
Yes.
So the hard part about for a lot of people getting your bachelor's is classroom.
Yep.
Sucks. You just sit there and you're listening to blah, blah, blah. And you just have to take what they do and then put it on a piece of paper, how they said it, and you get A's.
Yeah.
It's not, to me, it's sort of like, to your point, mind numbing.
Yeah.
There's some interesting topics that are like, oh, now I'm learning and cool. But it's that type. I think on the master level and, as you get further along and maybe even a PhD, which I'm not doing either at this point, but I think learning and conversing with people and learning from people, and I think folks like us are relationship oriented and, like you are great in the mastermind. You have so much to contribute. It is so wonderful. It's a great perspective and that's your jam.
For sure.
So it makes sense when you say, that's why I like talking. I like talking about this, and you find people, and that's what I want people to understand.
Yeah.
Who you are, because I guarantee you there are tons of people that are just like that. They're like, oh yeah, I don't want to sit there and be lectured to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I want to learn though.
Yeah.
But in a different kind of environment or whatever. And so I think that's fascinating. I think it's cool. And I think a lot of people are like that.
Yeah, I agree.
I real quick, I was thinking the other day, I've been kind of working on this thing in my head. Like life is backwards a little bit to me. Like, why do kids have to go to college and military and everything right off the rip? And that is the way it should be done.
Yeah.
I was like, shouldn't they develop and figure out what they want to do up through their 20s? And really shouldn't old guys like me, because my story, I was, in war early on, military and all that. So, but I was thinking, man, they got their whole life ahead of them. They need to be starting families. They need to be figuring out what they want to do and just exploring and figuring things out.
Right.
They're to be sending old guys like me to war.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've lived my life.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm still got some life, you know,
Yeah.
and all, but literally I've lived my life, and it'd probably be a lot shorter war.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
We're either going to talk it over and get this done, and we're going home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think things are fascinating when you really kind of think about them. They're like, seems backwards. And until you're 25, like literally your brain isn't completely developed.
Right.
So how can you pick something?
Yeah.
Unless you're, you know, like my daughter knew she wanted to be a baby nurse.
Right.
Always wanted to be an RN. That's what she does. She loves it, and that's just her calling. And some people are, but most people don't know.
Right. Right. And I think that's why we have such a large population who graduate college and do something completely different.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's just, I believe a lot of businesses too, they just want to see you had put in the effort to get a degree. It doesn't always have to fit the mold of what your job is.
You're growing up.
Check the box, you did college, but I really need you to go work over here in this department, and it's not the same. And we'll train you on the job training. And it's like, I don't know. I almost feel like that we need a good mix of what it was like when our grandpas were going into the work field, and it was really on the job training. There wasn't college.
Agreed.
Yeah, and then it wasn't like giving years of your life away and lots of money. It's like if you get into the plumbing field or electrician, whatever, and you decide you don't want to do that, you just go do something else.
Right.
Or computers. You know, my dad has worked his way from digital to compact computers to what is now HP, but with no degree. Yeah. But he was, when he switched jobs, he was competing with young men with degrees, but he knew way more than they did because he just did it himself, and he learned as he grew and as the software changed.
I think you learn better, and it's more solid. Like you know it better when you're learning you want to, instead of somebody just learning theory and you know whatever in a classroom.
Yes. So I do think, but I feel like too, I was of the generation. You know, I'm a millennial, and I feel like the millennials got driven really hard, unfortunately, by our parents to go to college. This is what you do. There is no other option.
For sure.
And then now this generation coming up behind me, I feel like, especially me as a parent too, with my own kids, I always make sure to preface, college is not the be-all, end-all, and you can do something else. If you don't want to go to college, fine. Right. You know, there are a lot of other options out there. You do not have to go to college to be successful or to have a successful life. And, Agreed. And so, and I'm fine with that. If they don't want to go to college, I've actually encouraged my middle son, who's I think going to be a rock star real estate agent one day, I hope, to just skip it and go get his license and give it a whirl. If all else fails and you feel like you need to get a degree, you've got time. Sure. But go make some money and see what happens.
I think it's a wonderful idea. And here's something, and I don't know all the specifics now, but I know when I was in college, do you know that it is a little bit of insanity for me, like kids coming out of college, they compete. And I mean, they drive themselves crazy to go to Georgia or whatever. Yes. Do you know if you wait and you're a non-trad, you just go sign up and go to Georgia or go wherever you want? Wow. Yeah. And I don't know exactly how it works now, but like I know when I was in school and I came out of the Army, I was not an 18-year-old trying to compete for those freshman roles at 18-year-olds. I could walk into any. I could have went to Georgia, Emory. There was no. You meet the minimum, you get in. Yeah. And I'm sure it's probably that way now. They want non-trads, and you don't compete on the same level where kids are ready to jump off buildings because they're so stressed to try and get in.
8 years of their school career. I mean, my daughter just got into Barry. She's now going into her sophomore year. Yes, Grace. And
she's been at the Mastermind. I love when she comes.
Yes, she's amazing. And she always felt like she was behind the 8 ball to get into these really nice schools. Right. Thankfully, she got into Barry, and that was her top choice, so it worked out.
Good school.
But the stress that they put themselves through to get into these schools, whereas Caleb, my son, who I really hope goes into real estate, but his plan is to go to a junior college for 2 years and then walk on to UT, University of Texas, because it's right up there with one of the toughest schools to get into out of high school. Right. But he listened to his dad, who said, hey, let's do 2 years at a junior college. You can transfer, no problem.
You can.
And you'll get right on in. And so that's his plan, which is great because it also saves us money.
Well, but I think that's smart too. You know, I think saving money and going to do that, you got something you're looking forward to. It's a goal. Yes. You know what I mean? Yes. And you're kind of, I think it just like in life, it's sort of that, you know, step by step, let it unfold, work your way up to a goal. I think it's super important. Yes. Right? I mean, I think it just trains your mind, you know, but I love the gap years now that I hear people are taking and stuff like that. I think those are amazing, you know, because they have no idea. Kids don't know what. I think I don't know if you were at the last Mastermind. We talked about POV, like your point of view or your perspective on life.
But I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, we all have a POV of what has sort of been poured into us up until we leave our parents' house. Then you start developing yours. Then that becomes foundational on a basis, but you start developing your own at that point.
Right.
And I think get away from your parents.
Yep.
At 18, get the hell out. Go get a job,
Yes.
you know, and I would say if your parents are in a great place, because a lot of times, I know when I left for the Army, my mom was like, I will pay for your college, don't go stay. And I'm like, no, I got to go, you know, and I needed that. But so I think if you're in a place where you can help your kids, you don't want them living in somewhere unsafe or whatever, but work. And I mean, even pay half the rent or whatever. Or if they can afford it, they're in a good job, like a plumber or electrician, then pay your own. God, there's so many amazing intangible things that are such a blessing to a human being's life and our culture that I think people miss that, you know. It's like, oh no, I got to check boxes, box, you know. And it's like, and then a lot of times you see these people get to 30, 40, 50 years old and they lose it. Midlife crisis and everything else because they got so many regrets because all they did was what they were told kind of that was what you should do. Instead of living your life, do some stupid stuff, you know, go out, you know, and I think live. But anyway, that we got down a rabbit hole on that. Well, but I love it. It's a great topic. And I think also it's sort of the POV, which again is good for people to know who they're dealing with, because I think there's a lot of people out there, even like super educated and super conventional people, you know, now are realizing even for their kids and stuff, like, don't do this. Wait.
Yes.
And if you want to do it later, it's going to be there.
Right.
You know, but I think it's a cool shift, and trade schools are coming back now, and
big time. But I think it's this whole fear of AI, you know, because AI is taking over so much, and I think it will only just be the beginning right now. And I know that at one of the Canton Business Club, we did a whole thing on AI.
Really? I want to hear about that.
It was really cool. And
you're right. That's a huge influencer in everything we're doing these days. And it should be, because it's big and it's here and it's only going to get more.
Yeah. And there were several industries there that talked about it. Tim with Mesmerize actually was there too, talked about how it benefits his business here, you know, but a lot of the computer guys that were doing, you know, behind the scenes computer stuff talked about it. And there's some fear, you know, within the room, because we're all like, is it going to take our jobs?
It's the unknown.
And it's a little bit, you know, like the Terminator or whatever. But one of the things they encouraged was, and I thought this was wise, and I think this is what we're seeing with a lot of these parents like me, is they're pushing trades because they're like, I can't foresee in any world that an AI will take over a plumbing job, an electrician's job. These are very fine-tuned. We need a human being fixing these, you know, doing these things. So what I'm seeing, and probably you're seeing in our industry with real estate and building, is those industries are becoming a lot more expensive because because we need them, you know. We can't just go on the computer and AI plumbing job, you know. And so my most recent renovation that I did,
and you can't YouTube it. I mean, you can, but it's a little scary. It's like, okay, just call the electrician.
Right.
Your deductible is going to cost more than
and the mistake you make is more costly than if you just would have paid them. And we actually did a renovation on one of our rental properties. And the most expensive piece, I mean, we had to add a full kitchen, was the plumbing. He had to basically tear up the concrete, it was a huge, intense job. And he added a washer and dryer hookup, and we were like, well, we got that. We'll hook that up. And we created a leak. And I mean, we fixed it. But it was only after the floorboards were ruined. So, but just to the point, you know, we should have just had the plumber. Lesson. Yeah, just let the plumber do it. But
just think how easy and cheap it would have been.
But it was a part of the deal. He's like, I'll come back and hook up your washer and dryer, and we didn't want to deal with it. And he, like I said, he was the most expensive thing we did in that whole renovation.
Wow, no kidding.
But it was worth it because, one, we needed plumbing.
Of course.
And two, we saw what we did when we didn't use him, just doing something super simple.
Great lesson, though, right?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I go through that all the time. people are like, can't we just?
Well,
And I
it's
said,
easy enough.
It's easy enough.
Not.
I know. I love that. I love that. Can't we just? It's just this. And I'm like, it's just that.
Yeah. You're going to charge us what? I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
And even on the builds, like I won't let people do it because when I do it, I'm licensed and it's, you know, under contract and all these things. But I've talked to them and about it. And even if I vet people on something, like sometimes, like I built a house for the guy worked at Reliable.
Yeah.
And he did heat and air. He sold heat and air. And he's like, can I do that? So as long as they're licensed, insured, I vet them, they go through it.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
And even through that process, he'll tell you, it's like, man, there's times I should have just let you handle it and do it. And he knows his stuff, you know, but then when he's actually doing it, it's different. But I've also had people that do stuff and mess it up and then have to call me and go, hey, can you do this? I'm like, yeah, of course, you know.
Right.
But now it's sort of delayed you and it's going to cost more because it's out of order and I've got to, you know, maybe tear something out. Yeah, and undo and redo. So I think it's one of them things to where you're right. AI, I can't foresee a world, even when they get to robotics, that they're going to be able to do what people do in construction.
Agreed. It's just fine. You need such a fine-tuned work of art. Yeah.
I think it's beautiful, not selfishly because I'm a builder.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful because I don't want a world that we can tame.
Yes. Yes.
I don't.
Agreed.
You know, I want there to be some stuff that, you know, and so tell me your thoughts on AI because I have like layers of thoughts on AI stuff, but what do you think about AI?
Well, if you know me, you know I do not like digital anything.
Yeah.
So because I'm just not good at it, I don't like to do anything. I like the old fashioned way because I didn't grow with the process of computers.
Sure.
Which is funny because my dad is a computer guy.
That is interesting.
And my husband also a computer guy.
You're right.
So I have people in my life.
I've seen his setup. I've seen Matt's setup with the monitors.
With multiple. He has 3 monitors and just, I mean, tablets and everything. But and so I resist it. So I don't know if purposely is the right word, but I really don't take the time to learn it. Yeah. So even though AI is pretty simplified, I very rarely use it in my own life because I'm just used to pen and paper and conversation and that sort of thing. And I like working with elderly people because they also are the same. And I don't mind driving out and having a conversation and signing with a pen.
Of course.
I almost prefer it than the digital signing, you know? So I'm resistant, but I do know it's coming and I will
It's
just
not
have
coming,
to,
it's here.
Yeah, right.
I love that about you because I'm that way.
Yeah.
Don't have Facebook, don't have Instagram. Don't you know, I do have a smartphone and I do have computers and you know, I use stuff, but I've even used the AI for listing descriptions and stuff sometimes.
I've tried that.
They're kind of stupid to me. Yeah, they're like, oh, this elegant, but you know, it's like, okay, that does not apply here.
Too much adjectives.
Yeah, it's way too much. Like, okay, I'm not in LA, you know, I'm just in the suburbs of Atlanta and it's going to be a little more basic. So, but it went,
yes,
and I just had to change a few words. So I think it's amazing. I kind of like it, but I think there's a lot of it that's really cool. I think it's going to be the undoing of us unless something changes. I think it's literally going to be like Terminator, like you said earlier. Yeah. I mean, I see no reason it won't be. It's kind of like, and the only hope I have is just like nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons could easily be the end of us. I mean, and it could happen right now. We wouldn't even know it. And so it's a little terrifying, and you just get to where you don't let it rule your mind, and you're like, that is what it is.
Right.
I think AI is going to be more pervasive because, you know, for instance, the threat of a nuclear holocaust is always there, but there's something has to be sparked to do it, and people initiate it, and there's layers of protection.
Yeah.
I think AI at some point is going to just be taking over and doing stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, and it may just be because I'm ignorant on some of the technology like we're talking about, but I don't know what kind of controls you can put on it. Yeah. You know, I like the iRobot movie. Remember that? And it was like Maslow's laws or whatever that was. It was, you know, it was like these are always built into them, so they can't hurt humans.
Right.
But then you get the ones that end up doing, or somebody, some bad actor, which there's a lot of them in the world, does something, and now they do, and now what?
Right.
You know?
And I know that Bronson at the Canton Business Club was saying that they are designed, AI is designed to grow and learn and progress.
Right.
That's where it freaks me out, because I'm like,
yeah.
where are we going to progress to?
Right.
And how is this going to, what is this going to, metamorph into, whatever. And
sure.
I also think that for the, these kids these days, they don't know life without a phone technology.
Right.
And so face-to-face communication, even making a phone call, is becoming very foreign to them.
Agreed.
Now I feel like the art form of writing and the writing kind of communication is going to lessen as well, because what do you need to do it? You can use AI and all this, and because it is so unique, these descriptions and whatnot, it's too hard for the teachers to even hardly catch when they're being dishonest and not even writing their own papers. So
for sure.
I just feel
the
like
teachers are having to use AI to see if it is one,
right. And you never usually get the same thing. And so it's like this verbal, written communication, literature, all of this is I feel like robbing our generations coming up
100%
what we've had to go through. And I do think that they're a little more, it's hard when I coach on communicating with your database with my real estate.
Yeah.
Because these younger kids don't want to pick up a phone, even make a doctor's appointment. Everything is so digital, so their communication is texting.
Right.
And for me, that doesn't feel like enough, but for them, I guess it is, because they don't ever pick up a phone and call. So it's just the weirdest thing.
Well, it is, and I get that, and I'm the same way. And I'm like, what is it that you need to be so efficient about that you can't just talk to somebody?
Right.
And by the way, I think the point they're missing on that is there's a richness in life that you're missing.
Yes.
You're avoiding. There's a commercial, that, which I think is a really kind of cool cool concept. Rocket Money.
Okay.
Have you seen it? Where the it's an app that talks about all your subscriptions.
Okay.
Because everybody has Netflix and Prime and blah 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 blah. And it goes through and tells you sometimes you have duplicates and you don't even know, and you're like, and it cancels them. And the girl goes, oh, okay, so you're going to call and cancel those? She goes, oh, no, I have a phobia of talking on the phone. I can just do it right here.
Yeah.
And I thought brilliant in one sense to market to younger people because they don't want to talk on the phone, so it's brilliant for them to market. But I also think, how sad, because, man, some of the best things in my life are conversations I've had with people.
Right.
And like you talked about literature is amazing. If you get into it and you let your mind wander and, read a book, or I like to listen to Audible books because I'm old and I got bad eyes now, but I can listen all the time. But isn't it amazing to let your mind just kind of wander and hear that story unfold? And I don't even know what it is. I just think it's like fabric or a richness instead of what is it that, like, all this stuff is automated so they can get to what? Watching these crazy videos there is, and I know I'm old saying this, but there is no richness in it. There's no value. There's no depth.
Right.
And I like some of them too. Don't get me wrong. I love some of the stupidest videos out there. You know what I mean? They're entertaining, but that should be a small part.
Yes.
Right?
Right. No, because I do think that I find that, written communication is important, which I know the text, but everything's shorthand. So that's the AI thing. And then, yes, there's nothing that replaces human connection, whether that's a touch, physical touch, or just face-to-face interaction.
Yes.
It is personal on a different level.
Yep.
And you're missing a deeper connection with people when you don't do that. But also the social media world where everything comes in quick blips. I really think that it's going to create a problem with with people who maybe didn't already have ADHD. Now they're developing it because their mind is being trained to get things.
I think we're full on into that now.
Yeah, and so I know one of my kids has it, and it's for sure, and it wasn't because of this whole video world. But I do believe, like, even myself, because I'm trapped in this. I'm in real estate, so I have to do social media. But then I get on there and post, and then I get trapped in the reels too. So
it does exactly what it's designed to do.
Yes,
it sucks you in.
Yes, and so I was thinking about it actually, ironically, today, and I'm like, do I actually have ADHD? like, because you can get it as an adult, apparently, when you, after your 40s, you can develop it, apparently. I don't know if that's true, but I'm also kind of like, maybe I just need to stop these short little video watching.
It's terrible.
Because it's potentially training my brain that I can't stay focused on something too long.
It is, and there's a lot of science out there on that now. Like I said, I nerd out, and I love to watch some of the stupid stuff, but then I'm like, oh my God, there's so much garbage in my brain. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, now I want to watch something really enlightening, like Huberman Labs or, Gary Brecker, or some of these guys that are like biologists and stuff like that. And one of the things that they say is these things are so good, they're designed this way because you get dopamine drip. And it's like cocaine. I mean, it's like, and it's for nothing. Like, they talk about runner's highs, and when you exercise, you get adrenaline, and you get dopamine, and you earned it, and you get the dopamine. Well, this is like alcohol or drugs, but even more so, because now, when you do alcohol or drugs, there are sort of some controls on it. Like if you drink too much, you're going to be super hungover. Yeah. You do too much drugs, you're going to super burned out and just want. There are some controls. There are none. Right. There are none on these things. Right. They're, first of all, socially acceptable, and they're dopamine for free is what they call it, and it's a terrible deal. Yeah. So it's even worse than alcohol and drugs. Yeah. And yet all our kids are on it. Right. We're on it. Everybody's on it. Yep. And I, as I studied that, and they started talking about how it does wire your brain, and how the synapse fires, and I mean it's deep biology and a lot of studies on it that is incredible. And that's one reason that I got off Facebook and Instagram. It's just my family is like Snapchat. Yeah. And so we can see, it's like texting with pictures, you know. And I like it, but I will get caught in the little reels part. Yes. And it's everywhere. It is. You can't get away. But I love to hunt, and I love to fish, and I love to just go out on the lake and watch the sunset. Do something without it, so that my brain stays separated from it. So I think you're right onto something, and I think most people realize it now. I think they're seeing all the studies from it with depression and all this other kind of stuff, because it keeps you high. When it's not there, you're just burnt. Yes. And it's free. And it's, like I said, the thing with alcohol and drugs, first of all, you got to pay for them, buy them. You got to make the effort to go get drunk. Yeah. Or do drugs or do something. And you hit a wall no matter what. And you hit a wall no matter what it is. You are just worn out. You can't do it anymore. There are like inherent controls on it, which is still terrible. Obviously, you can do, too much of it, which you fully realize. Yes. But you know what? There is no controls with this. Right. I mean, it is terrifying to me. It's as terrifying to me as the AI thing, because it's just making people not. I think it's changing our biology, our chemistry, and everything. That's what I think so too. Drive to do things, sure. Because I also think, what is it? And I don't know. I always wonder if this is just me being old, or this, sign of the times with all these things we're talking about. But what is it you got to be efficient about? Yeah. Pick a phone up and call somebody. Right. Or go walk in the office and see them face to face. Hug people. I love to hug. Yes. They talk about the chemistry of hugging. Yeah. It is amazing. It is. It is, it's an antidepressant. Yeah. Even if you're it's hard to hug somebody when you're really mad at them. But if you can't stay mad if you hug somebody. Yeah. Shaking hands. I love to shake hands because of that contact, and it just is a connection. One of the things last night, and I'll give a shameless plug out to the Atlanta Real Estate Connections with Peter Pasternak. It was just so nice. It was old school real estate. It's like being in a room and everybody's in there and talking, and everybody's got to sort of mingle, and you got the little cards. They have it designed, so you have to go see everybody and check off the card. Oh, nice. And they have, it's a fun little game. Little icebreaker, yeah. It's an icebreaker, so it sort of, forces people to kind of go talk. Yeah. And that's what everybody wants to be there for. Yeah. But you know how it gets a little awkward. If you go to these things, there's not something to sort of break the ice. Everybody you find somebody and you sort of sit there and talk to them. Yes. It's like, I want to go talk to them, but it's like, it's awkward. Now it's like, I got to get my little thing initialed for the drawing and the prizes. And he's just, smart. It's really smart. Yeah. He's a smart guy. and they're going to do a big one in October. I think October 1st or something at Dr. Scofflaw down in Atlanta, off of like Howell Mills, somewhere in there. Anyway, that's going to be their 14th anniversary, so it's supposed to be a real big one. Cobb Chamber of Realtors will be there, or the Cobb Realtors Association, and I think maybe the Chamber of Commerce as well. But anyway, it'll be a big one, so if you can do that and people can do it, it's great.
Yeah.
But I love the connections. I love the people connections and talking to somebody.
Me too.
You know, I miss that.
Yeah. Well, there's no replacement for it, no matter what people say or think. And you know, I was in a class yesterday. About making meaningful connections.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to hear about that.
For real estate. I mean, it was a real estate agent teaching the class about how do we make meaningful connections.
Sure.
And the big drive was, and he's a strong Christian man, so he brought it into his philosophy, which I loved.
Yeah.
But basically the whole Bible verse, wherever two or more are gathered, he is there.
Yep.
And so he said, and then that was a jumping off point to be with someone face to face, get together with them, and your third party is God, and allow him to work between you.
That's incredible.
And show up as an act of service to the other person, not as I want your business for real estate.
Yeah, of course.
But just like, hey, Andrew, how are you doing today? Like, just enjoy the time you have together.
Yep.
And if you continue having these meaningful interactions with people, then a byproduct will be business will come, because they end up liking you and trusting you, and then by way they will trust you with their business.
Yeah.
And I love that, because I'm a people person myself, so that makes sense in my world, and I can do that, you know. But picking up the phone, I don't really even like that piece, which is why I door knock mostly, because I get to stand in front of a person.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and so, but I thought
that was you do good, and I send people to you, but I'm sort of like, I don't want to do that.
I know. I have yet to find a person who really like loves it, you know, the door knocking thing.
Yeah.
But I will say that, you know, one of the things that they said about the making meaningful connections when you own your own business is that if you can just make 12 meaningful connections on a regular basis, so these would be sort of your core people, maybe you do life with, build your, you know, your I call them mat carriers, which are people that come around you and love you genuinely.
Right.
And out of those 12 people, they probably have their own 10 people.
Of course.
And they will refer you to those. So so within, you know, this group, you have 100+ people
easily
to potentially do business with. So cold calling hundreds of people a month, whatever that may be. Isn't going to be near as beneficial to building your business.
Agreed.
As you are making meaningful connections. And the byproduct is you learn, you grow, you love, you have support.
You get different points of view from people, which is just wonderful and fascinating. And, you know, you realize that even with all the technology and the news and everything we have these days, that even when you meet people, people are still unique enough to where you learn something or something different and cool. You're like, oh, wow, that's really cool. You know, that person has a different POV, which is cool to learn. Right. And I have wonderful parents, and my dad used to tell me the biggest hindrance to learning is knowing. So never show up thinking you already know, or you will miss the learning part. And so I've always kind of kept that mindset, because even if maybe, you know, you're a Democrat and I'm a Republican, or vice versa, I'm not going to sit here and act like I know better and my way's better. I want to seek to understand, why do you believe what you believe and think what you think? And there are times when my mind shifts and my point of view changes. Absolutely. And I love that, because I don't want to be rigid and stuck into this little box that I put myself. I want to keep the world open. It's very smart. I mean, I think you miss out on a lot of stuff if you're super rigid on things. You know, you have to have your core values, of course, and a real solid foundation. But that doesn't mean you can't critically think and learn stuff. And and adapt because things change. Think about the person you are. You know, I was talking to somebody, and I say this a lot. You know, Bradley and we're about to celebrate I think it's our 33rd. Probably need to figure that out, but I think it's our 33rd wedding anniversary. Wow. When you get that far along, it probably gets mixed up. It 100% does. And so, what was I going to say? So, and a lot of people are like, oh, that is great. That's really cool. Y'all been together that long. And I'm like, you know, what's interesting? almost feel like we hadn't been together that long.
Yeah.
I feel like we're on our third marriage.
Yeah.
Literally, because think about how much you change.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about the POV and learning stuff and and I want to, well, I am not that same kid.
Yeah.
I mean, we met when we were 17 and 16 years old and dated all through high school and stuff like that. And that was a whole different life and different people than what we were, when we were in the Army and we're married.
Yeah.
And like, you had that experience and you're different people. And then when we got out, and that was a whole different lifetime. And I think if you try to be rigid, like if I would have tried to say, I'm going to be this way and we're going to be married 33 years and that's the person I'm going to be, we would have never made it there.
Right.
We had to flex and be like, well, she's different. She thinks different. Do I still love her and can I be with her and vice versa?
Right.
I'm okay. Well, he's maturing or changing or whatever it is, and you have to change and have different. And I think it's smart, because business wise, think of how many times you have to pivot.
Right.
It's like,
the big pivot of the NRA, and AR ship right now. So
right, 100%.
Here we are pivoting.
And you do, and you pivot. And I think if you stay positive and you figure it out, you make it beneficial for you. How can I make this work in a good way and pivot because everything changes.
Right, exactly.
I
totally agree. I feel like you have to be flexible.
Yeah.
In every sense of the word, especially when you own your own business in real estate.
Oh, for sure.
And so, when we're reviewing all these contracts and doing the contracts class and we're learning the new rules of our business, I was in a class that people were complaining more or less. Their questions were more complaints.
Yeah.
And my thought was, we're here. It's happening.
Right.
There's no point in complaint. Acceptance is the answer.
Right.
And know that don't settle in too comfortably. It will probably change 10 times in the next few years.
That's
because
just facts.
We're all just trying to figure this out.
That is facts.
And so,
that's right.
But I do find, I will tell you, the silver lining for me with this new change, since it's come into play, is the listing agents answer their phones, which is not always the case.
That's great. Yeah. That's right.
They're like, sorry, on a call, what do you need? And I'm like, I want to, because you know me, I'm like, I'm a person, I want to talk to you.
That's why I called.
That's right. And then I don't often even get, if they're getting enough business and calls, they don't even often return my call.
Right.
So that was really frustrating. Now, actually today, I was scheduling a bunch of listings in Smyrna and I called every one of them and every one of them answered on the first ring.
Really?
I was like, yes. And, of course, shared their commission that they were going to, this is what we're going to give. But I was so excited. But it's forcing the listing agents to communicate, which I'm really pumped about. I hope it continues to be a really good communication, open communication now in dialect.
I agree.
A lot of agents are complaining about that piece, but I feel like for me, it makes my job a little easier when I am on the buy side, so I can. Because we had all of these agents and I had great conversations and I got all of my questions answered because I really wasn't calling so much about the commission. I was calling to find out information from my buyer.
Of course, right.
So it's like there are positives and negatives, but you just have to be flexible and truly acceptance is the answer. So just accept where we are.
It totally is. I have a process. I try and have a process for everything. And I call it bitching or venting, whatever. Yeah. I think you always bitch or vent. I mean, it's okay. It's healthy for a minute, It's like you talked Jackson playing football. One of the things I coached football for forever and then was in the booster club for the kids in high school. And my thing for kids was, man, you're going to get hit and it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
And you can whine and cry for a minute and then you can wipe your tears, dust yourself off, get up and get back in the game.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Or if you can't take it, get out.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But
it's not for everybody.
It's not. And if people do call you a quitter or do that, well, that's okay. That's part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, suck it up. That's what you're choosing to do, and that's the way it goes.
Right.
But get over that and do whatever it is that you want to do in life. And if you are going to stay in it, do it. But like I say, bitch and vent, cry, whatever you need to do, get it out, be done with it.
Yes.
Because nobody likes change, right? None of us do. No. So, and I do. I love to bitch and vent about stuff because I allow myself.
Yes.
But then I want to stop.
Yes.
And then, okay, now how do I address this?
Right.
Am I staying in the game or am I just totally getting out? And so, And I think with this new commission deal, I love it.
Yeah.
I love how it is.
Yeah.
It now, being a builder, I've always done contracts, and you have to sign contracts, you have to go through contracts, you have to negotiate things. And I've always done that with my clients. So when I became a realtor, I was already good at that.
Yeah.
And I was stunned at how many realtors are so lazy about that particular topic and will avoid it like the plague.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? To the point they'll even tell their buyers, don't worry, you don't pay my commission. It's free. There's nothing free about it.
Yep.
That is a lie. And that's what the lawsuit came from. Look, it's okay to get paid. It's okay to be an adult and talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't work for free.
Right.
Do you? Well, no, hell no. Right.
Right.
And they're like, well, have your conversations.
Yeah.
Stop. Be an adult about it.
Right.
It is the most amazing industry that you can make such a great living that I love it. And people act like, it is such a terrible inconvenience to answer your phone when agents are calling. I think that's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it to the point where I would never do it, but it's like, I wish their clients knew they weren't answering the call, so they fire them.
I want to tell on them so bad sometimes.
I do too, but I won't, and you won't, because we're not those people. But I mean, I literally do. I think they ought to pick up and go, hey, there should be, listen, and here, I'll put it out there. If I could figure some software how to do that, I'd have it done where it shot back to the people and go, there was 5 calls on your house today, and they didn't answer.
Right.
Because they were busy. What were they busy doing?
Exactly.
Bonbons getting nails done.
Yeah.
I don't know what it, but I guarantee you it was nothing seriously
Wasn't working
important.
for you. That's what
Right.
they
And
were
if
busy
it
doing.
was something important, like they had medical something or family or whatever, why didn't you have somebody take over your calls? Run it like a business. I have no sympathy for, and then, so I love that that's an outcome.
Yeah.
Listing agents are having to pick up their phone. I like these times when it gets tough.
Yeah.
Because it's like, quit, get out.
Yes.
Get out.
Weeds out the weaklings. I don't want to deal with them because on my end or your end, when we have experience, then we're dealing with people who don't do nearly the work that we're doing. Oh my God. We're carrying them like a freaking ball and chain along the way and dragging the deal. And I'm like,
literally true. It tears me up when I'm dealing with somebody and somebody else will get a listing. Well, I knew them and they did it, so they went there, whatever, and they're horrible. And I'm like, okay, I mean, that's loyal to a fault. What are they doing for you? Are they even answering their phone for you? No, and it's so those I'm happy that will be gone.
Me too.
So the ones that are good, I think it's great. I think you now have to sign a buyer's brokerage.
Yes.
Always thought it was super foolish for somebody to show houses without having a contract.
Yep. And I've done that from the get. So I know agents who are like panicking because they're afraid to have that conversation with their buyer. But I do a buyer's presentation with my buyers, and the end of it is always, this is our contract. I also bring, so here's a tip for anybody who doesn't typically do that may be fearful to bring a buyer's presentation. Although it's easier now because it's either do it or I can't show you houses.
That's
but
right.
I bring a 1-page termination because our termination between our agreement is 1 page. So it's like, hey, here's your 9-page buyer's document that we have to sign it to combine our businesses.
Right. That I'm locking you into a contract.
And it feels a lot and they're a little overwhelmed. And then I say, but don't worry, here's the 1 page. And I sign it already. I sign it and say, I will not trap you. I will not lock you in. And to prove it, I'm going to give this to you. And if you ever want to terminate our agreement, you send me a picture. I can turn it into a PDF and we can sever ties.
And we're done.
Yeah, and we're done. So
love
this
that.
isn't.
I love that.
That
is competing for business. That is saying I am good enough.
Yeah.
And
I'm not worried about that termination I just sent you, but you got it in case you need it.
Right. Of course.
It's never come back to me. So,
I love. Really, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is an excellent thing, man, and I think that's how it should be.
Yes.
We should have a relationship when we're both contributing.
Yes, right.
Like on my builds.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw it in there or whatever, but I have a thing in my build that I will fire you.
Yeah.
I don't care that you're my customer.
Right.
I don't care that if you do not act accordingly, if you're not professional, have decorum, or do that, you're fired.
Yes.
You're going to pay me what you owe me, and I'm gone. I'm going to somebody else because you're inappropriate.
Right.
I think people, and I've never had a problem. I don't know that. I'm trying to think if I've ever fired somebody. I think having those adult conversations up front, I have to think about that. Because I can't remember if I did. But I certainly would.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's okay. I should never treat people bad, and they should never treat me bad. Now, that doesn't mean it's all unicorns, blah, blah, blah. What do you do? Well, you have a process when you run into things sideways. Well, we're going to meet face to face.
Yep.
We're no keyboard warriors.
Right.
You know, we're not having cocktails and I'm
Emails
pissed and sending
yes.
it. Do not send me an email.
No.
In the morning, good morning, Andrew.
Yep.
When can we meet? Good morning.
Yep.
We can meet then, and you sit and you figure it out. And I'm telling you, that process has worked so good for me being adults. And I love the termination thing.
Yeah.
And now you have to do buyer brokerage.
Yeah.
And here's the beauty of it. People are flipping out. Again, you know, two things. It's either ignorance or and which you can overcome by getting educated and you'll get some confidence on it. And Justin had great classes on all this. And then, or you're just not a good agent.
Right.
So quit.
And you're not
It's like the kid that got hit and just doesn't want, that is not, quit, go somewhere else and find what it is. Why be in an industry that you don't want to have?
Right.
These are important deals.
Yep.
Stop looking at just the money.
Yeah.
This is somebody's home, which is our biggest investment.
Yeah.
Even if your 401k is more, even if you're fortunate to have, you know, millions in a 401k, you know what? That's numbers. That's ones and zeros. That's you know, this is where you live.
Yeah.
It's your biggest investment. It's tangible, and all this is where where your life is going to be. Your experiences in life. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So go through it. I love the agreement because now you get to write in 3%.
Yes.
And my thing is, I want the industry to go, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm showing you this, and I'm going to be your buyer's agent for 3%. So if they're not paying, you're paying 3. If they're paying 2.5, you're paying 0.5.
Right.
I want people to start adding value. You are worth it.
Yes.
We are worth it. We
Right.
are advocates for them.
Right.
And if they don't want to, FSBO, do your own.
Right.
And by the way, when you do that research, like we were talking about earlier, oh, I can wire up. Go ahead. Because when you shock yourself or you burn your house down and your insurance doesn't want to cover it because you're not licensed, you're not professional, and you didn't know what you were doing,
Right.
most people end up going, you know what, for my build side,
Yeah.
I say, here's the deal. You know, I'll go talk to somebody and they're making a couple $100,000. I'm like, oh, I can paint. I said, and when you fall off a ladder and you can't go to your $200,000 job, and they're like, you paint.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, right.
Right.
You're going to be able to pay
You
me.
had this conversation with us once.
Did I really?
At our house, you were saying, Matt had said, could he do this? And you said, yeah, but why would you use your insurance to write a claim for something that you messed up or hurt yourself or whatever? I'm fully insured. If I mess it up, my guy messes it up, then I got you covered.
Right.
So, and then Matt thought, and you also said, how many hours a week you working, Matt? And you, I don't know, between 40 and 80, depending on the week. And you're like, do you really want to carve out time to do this thing? And he's like, yeah, you're right. You know what? You go right ahead, Andrew. Do your thing.
Well, and that's it. And I think on real estate, and look, and it's not being like a know-it-all or nothing like that. It's just logic.
It's working smarter, not harder.
It's working smarter, not harder. And I'll tell you what, and then if you have those adult conversations like we did with people, face to face,
you could see your body language. You were not being threatening. It was not like broing out, I'm better than you, I can do it better. It was just like, hey, had you considered this? Which he hadn't.
Right.
And he could tell you were coming from a good place.
And literally, I don't think it's ever, the only time somebody has ever done it is if they were uber confident. And it's also a vetting for me because if they're uber confident, and they're like, no, I will, and I'll schedule it, and I do this, and I'm good, and I've thought and all. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you are squared away, and you will get it done. Then, hey, got my blessing. Go for it. You know, I mean, it's smart.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's not smart.
Yeah. No.
Fall off a ladder, hurt yourself. Can't do your $200,000 a year job.
Right.
And you could have had that thing painted for $2,000.
Right.
So
built into the project.
it could have been done. Now you're healthy, everybody's happy, and you know, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I think it's the same with real estate.
Yeah.
You're dealing with contracts, and you can tell them. I love the termination tactic. It's a great strategy. Here, if you don't like it, terminate.
Yeah.
You know, have the conversation. I got a protection.
Yeah.
I got a 90-day or 180 day. If you get a new agent, that's fine. But if you go to a house that I showed you, basically, they're going to have to share that with me. They're either paying me that or sharing because that's what's fair.
Right.
And that's contractual.
Yeah.
Go through these things with people.
Yeah.
People sign contracts all the time, and they are okay with it. I mean, we sign contracts with our phones.
Right.
So you can monitor everything about my life.
Right.
Everything about my life.
Right.
And you sign it. People don't mind, but we got some weird misconception in our real estate industry that we're not valuable.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, I think too, a lot of people get into real estate because they see their friend, their neighbor, their sister, brother, whoever making money, but they don't see what's happening behind the scenes.
That's right.
And what we're going to have now is, like you said, the people who are in real estate for that reason.
Right.
And they probably are already realizing it's harder than it looks. It's not like some people get super lucky, but 95% of us get into this and have to work really hard to make money.
Right.
But the agents who are not willing to go the extra mile to work, to do the work,
yes,
they just want the business to come,
right.
they will go away, because now you have to be very educated on the contracts. You have to be a high negotiator.
Right.
You have to know your value and be able to speak your value.
Absolutely.
And I know that.
I love that. I love all you said, and you say it so much better than me, but all of those things need to come in play.
Yes.
I think we need to be honest, a higher barrier for entry into this field.
Yes.
I do.
Agree.
I don't think it should be so easy to get into it, because I think it starts people out, like you said, like, oh, I saw my neighbor, get a $12,000 commission check. Mm-hmm. When I hear that, I'm a little different from most people. I know most people are like, wow, what? Yeah. That's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, what they had to do for that? Have you broken that down? Well, no, I don't know. Right. You don't. You should probably check it out, because it wasn't just, nothing, and then they went to closing and got a $12,000 check.
Right.
It was a lot of work.
Well, and also one thing that I do, and with the new changes, I'll probably type it out. But when we go to listings, we often do a cost sheet. What is it going to cost you?
Oh, it's great.
Yeah. And so what I'm probably going to start doing with buyers is, I used to just take a business card and I would let them know, like, if the business card is the 6% that I'm getting as a listing agent, I would tear it in half and hand them the other half and say, this is, the 3% that I'm actually getting, and then this other 3% is going to the buyer's agent. And then I would take that card, that little half, and cut it in half into threes and say, and a third of it's going to the broker, a third of it's going to FMLS fees marketing, and a third of it's going to me. But then I'm going to have to take that and junk it in half even again. So now I'm left with a square that's going to taxes.
Oh, that's great.
And so even though when you see on the settlement statement, I'm getting $12,000, the truth of it is I'm getting very little compared to the $12,000.
Right.
And I wish they just slap it on the settlement statement, like you could put a little breakdown of because people just assume that that's what we get.
All right. Yeah.
And it is not what we get.
Not at
we
all.
Do not when you're fortunate enough to be at a company like Vibe, you don't pay nearly as much in brokerage fees.
Right.
So I get my little third is a much bigger piece now, because I've been smart about it.
For sure.
And I'm
true to your
hoping
business.
This change will help agents learn that you can be at a company that does a better commission split, because now you may not be getting 3%, because I have a lot of buyers who couldn't afford that, and maybe you're getting 2.5, whatever.
Right.
You've got to be much more tactical and smart about where your money is
Be true to your business. Make sure you cut your costs and you're efficient on the back end.
But pick a good brokerage, because there are discount brokers out there. I have interviewed multiple. I obviously stayed and landed at Vibe.
Of course.
Because I still get the education because of our partnerships with like Pacific Law and with you and your knowledge.
Full compliance.
And then I also get, people call it boutique because we're still relatively small, under 100 in agents. But because it's boutique, what I get is one-on-one time and attention from the brokerage that I wouldn't get at a bigger brokerage, because I'm kind of a number in the queue I need to ask a question.
You are.
And versus at Vibe, I feel like I'm the only agent, though I know I'm not, because I get treated like priority.
Yeah.
Because I'm able to get that time and attention.
Well,
and
that's
I don't have to pay an arm and a leg for it, which is really good.
Yeah, of course. And you're right. And that's one of those things we're talking about. The richness in life is having that sort of connection with your people.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
We have 2 compliance brokers, and that you can call anytime.
Right.
And you're right. You're the owner of Pacific Law.
Yes.
You have his number. The owner of Perpetual Lender. You get to call them and have access, and you pay less than these other places that you are never calling.
Yes.
And look, I'm not knocking
Everyone
Keller per
similar,
se, but you're never gonna get Gary Keller's number.
No.
Never going to get his mobile personal number.
Right.
And people say, well, that's it. No, he's the owner. I'm the owner.
Yeah.
You call me anytime. Text me. I'll meet you, whatever.
Right.
He will not.
Right.
And it's not silly.
Yeah.
You have to look at, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
well, I got to meet him in Austin. Well, you stood in line and he don't know your name,
you paid thousands of dollars.
You paid thousands
I've
of
done
dollars.
these things before too.
Yeah, you know the deal. And I'm like, that makes no sense.
You paid $1,000 to shake his hand, and that's
you ain't even got to buy
all.
me coffee.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? You can come call me and talk anytime, and it's the same. I mean, I think, and it's not to say it's better or worse, because a lot of people they feel good about those, like you and I talked about before you came home. You feel good about that branding, and well, they're this and they're that, and I'm like, hey, I think people do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
They do not know. They don't know Vibe. They don't know Keller. They don't anything. They know Anna.
Yeah.
You're the magic.
Right.
So be true to your business.
Yes.
Cut your cost.
Right.
Make your business efficient.
Yes.
And I think that's brilliant. Mm-hmm. And every business school in the country will tell you that.
Yeah.
Right. Keep your cost of doing business low.
Yep. That's right.
Keep your revenue high, and that's the magic sauce. Well, I think that's all true and awesome, and but it comes back to also those connections and being good at your job and telling your people. And I think this new rule it's just different. Is the only reason it's so scary. I really do. I like it. I think it forces agents to be good at what they do.
Right.
And if you're not, then I don't see you. I mean, I have had to do, especially on the build side, in the 203K.
Yeah.
And things like that, when you get real specialty, I've got to where now I will literally shake a deal up. And I've had people get a little upset with me, and I'm like, I can't help it. I cannot. When I first started, I would have to literally direct the entire transaction. I'm like, I am the builder. I'm your general contractor.
Right.
And I'm having to tell the buyer's agent, the listing agent, the homeowner, every single thing.
Right.
I just want some professionals with me.
Yes.
And just because we work on our own accord and account doesn't mean you shouldn't be educated, knowledgeable, like you said, wanting to learn things.
Yeah.
And you ain't got to be, it's not looking like a master's in education.
Right.
Just know your business well.
It's on the job training, but you got to do it.
Yeah, it's on the job training. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think a cool thing is I like what you said, how they all answered. That's wonderful.
Yes.
It drives me nuts when I call.
Yes. And I normally, back before this, I would have called 10 agents and maybe got 2.
Right.
And then I would have gotten a couple texts and then maybe not heard from the other third.
Yeah.
And then it also, as a buyer's agent, it'll make me look bad because now I'm coming to you with all these houses and I don't have, because I like to get the insider information.
Right.
My favorite question to ask is, what is your seller looking for in an offer that is not money?
Right.
Or time, because
it's a great question,
and because sometimes you'll find that it's something and nobody asks that question. So when I ask it, if I can put it in my offer, something extra special, whatever, that's really going to give them a warm fuzzy. Then my offer may beat the highest price offer because I thought to ask that question.
Yeah.
But if you don't answer the phone, I can't have that question. I can text it, but it's not always the same.
Right.
And then I like to know, how much interest are you getting in this house?
Sure.
How quick do we need to move here? Are we
all super important things for your
how many
negotiation?
Offers do you have? All the things,
Right.
And so, and it's funny because like today I was targeting Smyrna, and some of them were on the market 30 days, some only a couple days.
Yeah.
And so I, of course, my question is, how much interest are you getting?
Right.
In the home, and 2 of them were like, oh, not a lot, but that's the market now, and all of our listings are sitting, and so on and so forth. And then the other 2 were like, we've gotten tons of looks, we're back-to-back showings, or we may have a deadline, all within a 30-mile radius.
Sure.
So it's interesting to but I need to know that so I can negotiate at a higher level for my buyer.
Absolutely.
Depending on how popular is your house, and so
and listen, of course they're important, and it's also important from their side as well to be talking to you to see what your buyers want and how they negotiate for their people.
Yes.
You know, and that's the point. It's like, and I get the old standard philosophy of the best way to be a very successful realtor is be a listing agent only and all this, and they just want to be there and they want to try and scale up, but then they don't have time to answer all of it. Well, again, you're not being good at your business. Get an assistant that answers the phone and empower them. Make sure they're licensed so they can talk if you can't. If you're running that, you're almost like running a team. Have that. But if you're, but you should not grow. But that's the gripe I have about it is, run your business answer all your stuff, and when you've grown too much that you can't answer all your calls, then you have an assistant, and they start doing it and run and answer, because that listing that you got, that you told them you were going to sell and you were so good and you get more money and blah, blah, that's all not true if you're not talking and doing all those questions that you do.
Yep.
So you're just trying to get leverage for your side to negotiate.
Yeah.
Well, they should be doing the same. You called up. I got a customer on the phone. Fine. And you're asking great questions like, well, what do they want? Blah, blah, blah. Well, what do your people want?
Yeah.
Shouldn't they should be asking you the same things?
I never get that question, but they should. Yeah, absolutely.
Why not? You know?
Yeah, that's a great thing.
I'd be like, I love it. I'll show you mine. You show yours. Let's talk. Let's figure this out. Hey, you know what? Okay. Yeah. Oh, cool. And write it down.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, well, what do your people want?
Yeah.
Why are they moving there? Oh, they love it. Oh, they got friends in the neighborhood.
Right.
Now that's leverage for me.
Right.
Oh, they're wanting to be here.
Yes.
There's some stuff in the next neighborhood, but their best friends are here.
Right.
Or their kid's best friend. Or this neighborhood is in the school district they want, not over there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's how you
and
serve.
I can promise you that won't happen, that conversation on a text.
No.
So these people
there's no way.
Who are wanting to text everything, they are missing a core piece to our business and being the best agent you can be for your buyer or seller, which is these conversations. And I try to keep them on the phone as long as possible, because the more I get them talking, the more I will find out, which is beneficial to whatever side I'm on.
Of course.
So that's me doing the best I can.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, it's wonderful. And I'll tell you, you're right. You don't get those skills if you're always on your phone or you're avoiding talking to people or whatever.
Email, I have that too. People, I'll say in the email, I'm just reaching out because I've been trying to get a hold of you. Please call me.
Yes.
I do not want to do an email exchange.
Yes.
Because that's basically text, but it's just, I want to, and I'll even meet with you face to face.
Yep.
Please just let's schedule something.
I love it.
Because that's another thing a lot of agents will do. I find that the older school agents who won't pick up the phone but don't text do the email thing. And I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Well, I'm so process driven. I think calls are the absolute most informative. Like you said earlier about it gives you, it's contextual. You can sort of, like you said, it's, you find out who somebody is.
Yeah.
Like if they're, you know, it is only, superseded by an actual face-to-face conversation. Yeah. And so, but if you talk to somebody on the phone, you can pretty much get everything you need and then some from that convo. And I think text for me are quickie messages.
Yes.
Hey, on my way.
Yeah.
Hey, see you here, blah, 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 blah. When they get long, I'm like, call.
Yeah.
I like email. Emails are when you want to memorialize something, and you know you have to go back and research it later and pull docs and do things.
Right, put a PDF in there. All that's good.
Yep, all good. Yeah. And you want to memorialize a combo. Sometimes I will email back and go, "Hey, because I want it in writing. Hey, just wanted to follow up on our conversation or confirm and blah 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 blah. Yeah. These are the tenets of whatever it is we talked about. Yeah, cool, absolutely. Blah blah blah. Thanks. Looking forward. Cool. So it's there.
Yeah,
but that talking is amazing, wasn't it incredible? I mean, you and I must be like old souls that, you know, to not be like that. But, you know, it's amazing to me that now is a skill.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you said you're a millennial. How old are you, Anna?
42.
42. I didn't know that.
I'm the first year of the millennials. So at 81, my sister's whatever the one prior. So probably the same as your generation.
Yeah. What am I, Gen X or something?
Yeah. Yeah. That's my sister. And then the next year, 82, that's when the millennials.
So you were a millennial.
And it's funny because I used to dog on the millennials for my daughter because I thought she was one. This was a long time ago. And then she looked it up and she's like, "You are a millennial. I'm not even a millennial." And I was like,
awesome.
"Oh, damn."
Yeah. That's awesome.
I learned the hard way and it's done because I was talking trash about them all the time.
Right.
But it was really her generation I meant. But you know how it goes. You always talk trash about the generation coming up.
You do. That's the way it goes.
Yeah. So
well, that is hilarious when you said that. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Well, so you may or may not, you probably don't, but I literally, when I grew up, I always think I'm a kid from the 80s, which is, to me, just the best decade ever. There were no cell phones.
Yeah.
There were none.
Right.
You know, you literally had to call if I got a girl's number,
Yeah.
and want to call her, it was calling her house.
Yeah. It was getting on a little notebook piece of paper.
Yeah, I had to let me find something to write down in the truck, and you're
Don't lose it, and then you lose it, and you're really screwed.
You're 100%.
Yeah.
Why didn't you call me? I'd lost your number somewhere
and you're taking
in here.
the corded phone around the corner of the kitchen to kind of like be quiet.
So your parents over here. No, and look, I think the deal is that whole thing was all I know. Remember, and the cords were short at first, then they got super long
stretched,
where you could go around the corner.
Yeah. Walk in another room half the time.
Well, so I think it taught so many great things.
Yeah.
It taught how to talk to people, interpersonal skills, and
do the hard conversations.
Do the hard conversations, how to have a convo with somebody, and realize that I think people now. And here, like the people that don't want to talk on the phone are like that rocket commercial I was talking about. Mm-hmm. It's funny because it's not hard conversation. Well, I don't want to be what's that confrontational. It's like you're not confrontational.
Right.
You're not being confrontational by having a hard conversation. Right. Confrontational would be like, I want to fight. Rawr. Yeah. That's not that. You're just having a problem you need to work out face to face. In fact, anytime I've had that, I have actually parted ways closer to those people. Yep. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because now, hey, we're both sideways and we both have something we're gonna thumb wrestle over figuratively. Right. And blah blah blah. But when it's done, I see your point. Okay, and I get it. And you see, and you're like, I see your point. Yeah. Fine. Let's work to come together on what we can. Right. Man, now you're bonded even better. Yeah. So they're missing out on the whole and it doesn't make sense to me. Right. At all not to have those combos. Mm-hmm. But we grew up doing that, and now it is just the opposite, and it's like a skill. Yes. And I'm like, how is that even a skill? Cursive is not taught anymore. Yeah, yeah. How do you sign your name? I have no idea. You block print your name? Yeah. I'm like, what is going on in the world? Right. That you do not cursively sign your name. I made my kids learn cursive. I did too. We taught our own. Same. It's incredible. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense to me. And by the way, cursive is such a pretty, it's like literature. Yes. It's such a pretty way to write or whatever. And I write a lot of cards in my business. And do you have pretty girl handwriting? Pretty cursive, but not print. My print is terrible. Really? So I always write it in cursive. And then I think if they're between the ages of 20 or under 30, I'm like, they may not be able to even read this. Oh, yeah. Because they don't know how to write cursive. Which is nuts. But I do it anyway. I'm like, you know what? They'll have to figure it out or not. Whatever. Right on. They can see that I said thank you. I have terrible print. I write a lot faster cursive. Me too. I'm just not going to do it. That's hilarious. Yeah. I remember in school when I would have girls write it because girls always had pretty cursive handwriting. Yeah. I'd get them to do stuff. And now I've always, and since Bradley and I have been together forever, I always get her, you write the card because she's that pretty girl handwriting. Yes, yes. No, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Well, cool. It is. What time is it? It's been well over an hour. Oh, okay. I know that just happens. Let me kind of wrap it up real quick. And like I said, I didn't even get to all my questions or whatever, which is good because I loved our combo. Right. But so I started doing this thing where I want you to do a shout out. What do you got going on? Mm-hmm. What are you wanting to promote? I know you said are you farming Smyrna or something? No, I just have, it's really a listing coming up that I want to, so I don't know if every listing presentation, in fact, let me back up. I don't know many people when they do their listing presentation, though they're out there, that take the potential future clients out to see the homes in their area. I physically take them to see the houses. Oh, really? Yes. What a wonderful deal. I pull up the homes that are within, I usually try to come with about 10 comparables, but I pick the top 4 active properties within a mile radius. Yep. And when we walk it, I tell them, okay, so in this bathroom versus your bathroom, tell me the differences. I want positives and negatives. Wow. Because it helps me get them to the price I need them to be at. Of course. Because at the same time, then they'll say, you're educating them, right? Ours is a tub insert. They have tile. Yeah. So that's going to be a price adjustment. For sure. I can see that. Or vice versa. Like, check out this master bedroom versus yours. What do you see different? Theirs is much smaller than ours. Right. So that's a good thing. Jeez, man. Let me tell you, that pro tip, kids, right there. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, I've done listing presentation. I've heard about people doing that are like, I'm like, holy cow. Yeah. I try and do them. I want them to be impressive. Yeah. That's as impressive as you get because you can have all of your, your folder with all your stuff and I call it I love me. It's like awards or something. I love me things.
Oh, your love binder you got off the military, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah,
like, oh, look how great I am. I do all this. Like, whatever.
We had a love book for my ex.
Yeah. Exactly right. And so, but then, and those are all cool things. And hey, here's the market, blah, 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 and comparables.
Yeah.
Wow. Showing them.
And having them communicate. What do you see that's different here than your space?
Yes, because they're like, we love our house. We raised our kids. It's been so special. Blah, blah, blah. It's perfect.
It's
blah,
worth
blah, blah.
500,000. Is it though?
Is it though? And then the best thing to do, it's kind of like the combo I was talking about I have with people.
Yeah.
What happens when you fall off? And it's just logic. And they're like, oh yeah. So they see somebody else's bathroom and go, oh wow, theirs is 500 and mine doesn't look anything like that. Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Right.
So smart. Because that's what I say. You're leading them to the answer instead of giving them the answer.
Right.
Which is way better because then they're bought in on it. They're like, man.
And and I always say, go through the home like you were the buyer.
Right.
And now we come back to their home and I'm saying, compare yourself. You've just saw these homes. Let's go. And I typically pick purposely some that are really bad, some that are better, and then some that I do feel are generally comparable.
Sure.
And see where they fall when we come back to the house.
That's great. That is a serious pro tip.
Yeah.
So, all right, give us a shout out. What's going on? And I don't care what it is, if it's personal, if it's business or whatever. Okay. Give a shout out. What's going on in your life, and what do you got coming up, and what are you looking forward to?
So, I've said it many times, and I'll say it again. My area of expertise is first-time home investors.
Okay.
And so I do have a team that helps come alongside me when a buyer wants to buy an investment property, whether it be Airbnb, long-term, short-term, or flips.
That's great.
And we are my team is a liaison. They're the experts in whatever genre you pick.
Yep.
So I too do real estate investing on my own, and so my shout-out is I have 2 rentals long-term coming up right off Bells Ferry, just across the lake by JD's.
Nice.
It's a duplex. They're very nice, brand new, modern amenities, fully equipped with washer, dryer, the whole deal.
Awesome.
For $1,800 a month.
Oh, that's great.
Mm-hmm. And ample parking. I mean, it's great. It's on almost
Where exactly is that?
So if you're going down Bells Ferry Road towards Canton, cross over the lake where JD's is.
Yep. JD's on the lake.
4th house on the right.
Okay.
It's a big yellow house. And so we're getting them ready now. I'm painting, the interior. My husband's doing the yard work,
Right on.
Utilities are including in the $1,800 a month.
Really?
Each unit. They're 2-bedroom.
Water and electricity?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Trash too.
Yeah,
so 2-bedroom, 1-bath units.
And these are yours?
They're mine.
Nice.
And then I have a midterm unit coming up. These are for people like a real estate agent who's got a buyer seller in transition.
Sure.
A traveling nurse, traveling businessman.
Yeah.
We would do a month to month up to 3 months. Well, it's a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, fully furnished, laundry, all of the deal.
Where's this?
This one is off Bells Ferry as well, but in Woodstock side. And it's got everything. I mean, you pots, pans, like you just show up with your suitcase. It's a midterm.
A midterm, not short term like Airbnb, but a midterm.
So you're needing
a month at a time.
Yeah, a month at a time. Maybe you're trying to buy a house. You sold your house.
Oh yeah.
Now you need to stay somewhere, but you want your furniture to go in storage. Oh, you just show up with your suitcases.
What a great need.
Yeah. Yes.
That's awesome.
Midterm rentals for anyone looking to invest.
Yeah.
It is the untapped market right now. As a real estate agent, I need them a lot. And I don't have,
for sure.
They're not a lot out there.
I've said that
People don't even know what they are.
Yeah, no, I say it all the time. That is the one thing, if you can figure out how to overcome it. What's the worst thing is, because when you sell somebody's house and you've helped them buy a house, that in between, and we always try and schedule them to it.
Right.
And we work it out, but it's always clunky.
Right.
It's always like, crap, are we going to get it done? Is the closing going to get pushed? Am I going to have to push them out? I've got to be in. It's just always, that is the worst part of the whole transaction. So the midterm is phenomenal.
It's the answer. And I have a lot of out-of-town buyers, and then they need to stay somewhere while they're buying a house here. Their stuff's in storage. They're going to call their movers, and they get anyway. So I've noticed, because of my own business, there's a need for it. So I decided I would, and eventually
can't wait to hear more about that.
Properties, the duplex will become midterm, but for now we are doing a long-term year lease for $1,800 a month, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, the utilities included. Now you bring your own furniture; it won't be furnished, but everything
right there,
is nice.
Is it just past Wooten Road?
Yes, on the right.
Okay.
And it's got a circular driveway.
I know what it is.
Set off the road. It's a yellow house with white trim.
Yep, I'm pretty sure I know that.
And another niche for that house. If they somebody wanted to rent the whole unit, it would be $3,600 a month. But again, utilities included.
Yep.
because the duplex is divided up on the interior as well by big stormer doors with a deadbolt, so you're safe.
Oh, okay.
But if we have thought, if anyone has an older parent that doesn't
great
want to live
idea.
alone, but you don't want to live with them,
Sure.
they have their unit, you have yours, and you can go in and out.
Amazing.
Yes. So
Gosh,
we are marketing to those people as well.
Okay.
And that way you can still be right there by your parent, but you don't have to literally live with
Right.
them.
You can get to them quickly, easily,
and it's safe.
in from the interior. You don't even have to walk around.
And there's tons of parking. I mean, you probably could park 20 cars in the driveway.
That is awesome.
Big driveway. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Oh, and there's RV parking. So another thing I have got going.
Oh, that's great.
Is this off Bells Ferry in Canton. In the back of the unit is a hookup for electrical and sewage for an RV.
That's amazing.
So we are going to do RV parking as well. For one RV, we have room for one RV if anyone needs RV parking.
Very cool.
Yes.
So I have an Army buddy.
Okay.
That he sold his house.
Yeah.
He bought an RV, a trailer. Trailer's his Bronco.
Yeah.
And travels all over.
Yeah.
And so when he comes in, then
let him know.
I'm gonna hit you up.
I don't know what we're going to charge for the RV because I don't know enough about it. It
Yeah.
just happened to come with the property. And we
Sure.
were stoked, like,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
my God, there's RV parking. There
That's
was
cool.
an RV there.
That's cool.
We kind of investigated. Sure enough, they were hooked to sewage and
That's
electrical.
wonderful.
And so we are eventually going to put a parking pad. There's not one now, but it can still park there.
Yeah.
And a cover. But until then, we can still park an RV
course.
and you can hook it all up and have it completely running.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
so.
that's the main part.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah. All right. And then as far as family and stuff, football.
Yeah. So
and
Jackson is just starting his second year in tackle football, though he did flag, but he loves tackle.
Nice.
At Etowah, he's 5th grade, Pee Wee League, But
go Eagles.
Yeah, go Eagles. He's doing great. Won his first 3 games. So
oh, great. That's
they're
awesome.
on a winning streak.
Good.
Yeah, it's a good team. And then Caleb just got on the high school sophomore golf team.
Wow.
So he's super pumped. So
super cool deal.
Yeah,
I love.
He's my golfer. So
I love live sports.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's definitely something he's dad and 2 grandpas on his dad's side of the family they're very passionate about. And actually,
very cool.
His grandpa, his dad's dad, is a semi-pro professional golfer for the senior league.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So he's got
a built-in teacher.
Yeah, he does. So he's super excited. And then Grace just started her sophomore year at Barry with a full ride scholarship. So we could not be more proud.
Congratulations to her.
And she is getting ready to start doing lectures on a research project she did for environmental science within her college, and eventually she'll go around to other colleges and share the news on the Coosawhattie River. I don't know exactly what about it, but
I love the Coosawhattie River.
So.
We own property in LJ. We used to up at and it's a great river system that goes into. I used to bass fish too. I think Neely Henry, and there's a couple that are in it, big lakes, reservoirs.
Yeah, well, she's been doing a ton of
That's
research.
awesome.
So she's getting ready to present that this year to all of the people at Barry.
Smart girl.
Very smart, doing big things. And then, of course, just like you, we just had a grandbaby.
Yes, congratulations.
Lily,
Yep.
Because how old is Roman now?
Roman is 3 months.
And so Lily turned 1 week, so they're just a few months apart. When we were going to have a play date, I told Bradley we're going to have a play date with the grandbaby. So that's
maybe an arranged marriage or something.
Yeah, right. That'd be awesome. And then Jake, my stepson, who's 22, just started Reinhardt. Who was 3rd in the nation actually for baseball in their league.
Yep.
And he's doing his master's by way of a baseball scholarship.
Good for him.
So we getting a master's, but also playing baseball in the hopes that hopefully we can get him into the
They've
pros.
always had great baseball, but they always have great football and wrestling and basketball.
Yes.
They're really good, very underrated sports school. They're very good. My son, wrestled and played football there, and my daughter-in-law played basketball all 4 of her years there.
Yeah, I will say Jake said to me just a couple days ago that because he was on a scholarship at another school, and now he's at Reinhardt, so he has something to compare to, and he said that there is no comparison. The quality of the facilities, the coaches,
wonderful.
The way they've organized the training, he is blown away and could not be happier.
Good for him.
Yeah, so he's really excited.
Good.
Yeah. So.
Well, you'll have to post the schedule or something.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to get up there. I missed the 2 years that Brandon went there, and that's where he met his wife.
Yeah.
And, but I love going up there and seeing them. And, their football facilities were
really
they're top notch.
Okay.
It's an amazing field. in the weight room's this big old glass wall where you work out and you're looking over it.
And showed us.
It's incredible.
It's
and up there in the foothills, so it's a nice place.
Yeah.
Well, good for him. I wish him success and all of them. So, well, great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
It was another great talk.
It was. Good
Loved
job.
it.
High five.
Yeah,
Woo.
high five.
Go Vibe.
Go Vibe.